Hey, Walter Sorrells back with more tips for the knife maker. Today, my top 10 most underrated tools in the knife making shop. Now, everybody knows the cool tools. If you're interested in knife making, you know this, and this, and this, and of course, this. And then there are the big guns like this, and this, and this. But even for guys who forge all their knives, you'd be surprised how little time they spend over there. But again, we've all seen guys grinding away on forged in fire. We already know all this stuff. That is not what we're talking about here today. So let's take a look at the unsung heroes of the knife making shop, the tools that hide in the shadows. My top 10 list of the most underrated tools. Number 10, the drill press. Other than the belt grinder, which wouldn't go onto anybody's underestimated list because everybody knows how important it is, the drill press is hands down the workhorse tool of the knife maker's shop. I don't care if you forge, if you do stock removal, if you make swords, knives, at some point in every knife, there's a hole. Unlike some of the more specialized tools in the shop that are only useful for knife makers, and some of the tools that cost a ton of money, the drill press is useful for projects around the house, automotive work, metal fab, woodworking. There's literally no craft on planet Earth that you won't occasionally need to drill holes for. And so once you invest in a drill press, it's just got a million uses. And the drill press is a huge step up from making holes with a hand drill at a very reasonable cost. Number 9, masking tape. Okay, it seems silly, but that is exactly why it makes this list. Talk about going under the radar. Modern tape was invented at the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company, that's 3M to you and me, about 100 years ago. I pick up a roll of masking tape, I would estimate, about every half hour in my shop. What can you do with it? Well, what can't you do with it? I mix epoxy on it, mask off blades, attach things, prop up little stands for photographing knives. I mean, I could literally talk about it for hours. But what's the point? If you make knives, you already know how important it is. Number 8, digital calipers. When I got started making knives 25 years ago, I didn't even know that people measured things to the thousandths of an inch, much less why anybody do it. But in knife making, there are so many places where measuring to a 16th of an inch just will not hack it, and that's when I reach for a pair of digital calipers. You can buy really cheap ones these days that work great, and when they don't, and look, these things fail after a while, you just toss them in the trash and buy a new one. Like tape, I'm reaching for my calipers multiple times an hour. I probably have 5 or 6 pairs of them scattered around my shop, endlessly useful. Number 7, sandpaper. One of the dirty little secrets of knife making is that you spend more money on abrasives than you do on steel. Here's just a sample of the places that I use abrasive materials. But when you get back to the root of the thing, you find this. Abrasives glued to a sheet of paper. Yep, good old sandpaper. I have a caddy full of it that I use constantly. Everything from 60 or 80 grit all the way up to 2000. Polishing swords, flattening handle scales, hand sanding blades, sanding handles. Sometimes I'll use it for sharpening blades. It's a cliche to say that the list is endless, but literally, the list is endless. Real quick here, guys. If you've been enjoying all the free content I've been offering on YouTube for the past 15 years, yep, you heard that right. It's been almost 15 years now. And you want to get back to the channel, there's a way. It's called Patreon. All my Patreon supporters at any pledge level get plans to most of my builds, knives, knife making tools, all that stuff that I make on here. But more than that, you get the satisfaction of supporting something that you believe in and that helps you. So help me, help you. Link in the cards and description. Thanks guys, and now back to work. Number 6, the bandsaw. I have a ton of saws in my shop. Table saw, a couple chop saws, a metal cutting bandsaw, 8 zillion hand saws, but hands down, the wood cutting bandsaw is the saw that sees the most use in my shop. Now, a semi-decent saw like this is not cheap. You can get little bench top models, but to me, this 14-inch floor model is the sweet spot in terms of bang for the buck. One of the interesting things about tools is that some tools you buy, it's useful, does this one thing, and for years and years and years you do that one thing with it. But the best tools are the ones that you keep finding new uses for, and that's the bandsaw. Cutting wood, cutting dowels, cutting slabs of micarta, it's just on and on and on. Love this tool, use it all the time. Number 5. Compressed air. I've had compressors for years, but last year I moved into a new shop and installed a shop air system, so I had air near most of my tools. To me, this is a little bit of a luxury, but man, I love it. Now, I gotta tell you, I don't even really use air tools. I've got paint sprayers and stuff, but mainly I just love being able to blow crap off of what I'm working on. That one little thing. I don't know, it's weird, but I just love my air. Number 4, Popsicle Sticks. Okay, if there's one thing on the list that I would get it if you said that's dumb and should be left off the list, yeah, it's probably this. But the ratio of underratedness to usefulness here is high precisely because of how unheralded this thing is. I buy them in bulk and I use them to mix epoxy as mini sanding blocks for cleaning glue and other gunk. I'll chop them up and use them as little tiny pokers, just all kinds of stuff. Now you could pick up a scrap piece of wood and do almost all this stuff. And what other tool can you buy 1,000 of for $7.99? Pretty sure not this thing. Number 3. Paper towels. In that same vein, I can't begin to tell you how many times I use paper towels in a day. Maybe 50, maybe 100. The knife maker's shop is just full of gloopy, sloppy, sticky, gummy, dirty, dusty, rusty, caustic, stinky stuff. And every time you pick them up, or spill them, or pour them, or squeeze them, or handle them, or whatever, here comes a paper towel. And that's just the beginning. I use them to cover things, to wrap blades, to protect knives from dirt and grit, to spread solvents and coatings and etchants. I use them as Band-Aids. I use them for wiping sweat, blowing my nose, wiping my... Okay, maybe not that, but you could. In my shop, I put paper towel dispensers everywhere. I keep a couple stocked with blue shop towels and the others with cheap kitchen-type towels. Number 2, the battery-powered electric drill. I don't know that I'm putting these things in order. Maybe you could argue this ought to drop down a little bit, but hey, this is where I'm putting it. The modern battery drill is an engineering triumph. I stayed away from them for a long time, used my old cord drill for a long time, because the old battery drills 20, 30 years ago, they sucked. No power, crummy batteries, mechanically they were just all weak and they were bad. But the new ones, awesome. Haven't used a cord drill in years. Funny thing, the one thing I rarely use them for is drilling holes. It's everything else they do that makes them so great. Screwing screws and bolts. Every time I change out anything in my CNC machine, I'm using a drill. The batteries cost $1 million, and of course you have to recharge them once in a blue moon. But other than that, yeah, I'm planning to be buried with my drill. I mean, you never know. Might come in handy. And coming in at number 1, this bad boy right here, the metal file. Okay, but on a serious note, some of these tools you can live without, but files, nah. You know, they have a word for a world without files. It's called the Stone Age. I'm serious. Files go back thousands of years, and they are without a doubt the foundation of metalworking, which is the foundation of modern life itself. It used to be that no apprentice machinist was even allowed to touch a piece of machinery until he'd proved that he could make really pretty sophisticated metal parts with a file. It was just understood that the file was what all metalworking, all machinery, all modern stuff was built on. Now, as the years have gone by and I've got more fancy specialized gears, I probably don't reach for a file quite as much as I used to. But still, deburring, enlarging holes, flattening, shaping. In fact, I still do the real detail work of shaping my katanas with a file. You can find them fine, coarse, flat, round, half round, big, small, square, triangular, you name it. I bet I have 50 different kinds of files. And they all get used. Somebody ought to build a shrine to them. That's what I think. Well, I hope that was fun. If you're a knife maker, I'm sure you got your own list, and I'm sure it's totally different from mine. If you've got a tool that you think I left off, leave a comment. Otherwise, what are you wasting your time watching me for? Go grab your favorite tool and get busy making a knife. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and see you soon. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what we're doing here, please subscribe and make sure that you click on that bell so you get notified of all the latest videos. Want to buy a knife from me? Check out my modern blades at tacticsarmory.com. Digging the channel? You can support our video making efforts on Patreon. You know, I've been banging away on these videos for like 10 years, so I hope you'll show some love for all that hard work. Link in the cards and descriptions. Finally, if you're interested in making Japanese swords, check out my full line of Japanese sword videos where I show how to forge Japanese swords as well as how to polish them and how to make fittings, handles, and scabbards. WalterSorrellsBlades.com.